Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor and privilege to be here amongst all of you and to moderate in a most interesting discussion that I'm sure all of you will enjoy. I'm thankful to the organizers, including Anupam, for giving me this opportunity and a very, very kind introduction of myself. I don't know whether I deserved it, but a very extremely kind introduction. I would now take the privilege of inviting all my panelists for today's discussion. And we have Mr. Vikram Kumar, CEO, Data Resolve Technologies Private Limited. Vikram, are you there? Yeah, please. Mr. C.V. Muralidhar, who is the... Okay, I'm so sorry. Mr. Muralidhar Sharma, who is an IPS and representing the Kolkata Police. We have Professor Chandan Majumdar, who is the head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering from the Jadavpur University. We have Mr. Karthik Sahani, who is the director of RSA. Mr. Sahani, please. Can we have some applause going? They are very, very distinguished panelists. And Mr. Maruti Maheshwari, who is the managing director of MBL. We have, amongst ourselves, discussed what individually they will be talking about. I have been asked to introduce the topic, but I see no reason why I need an introduction to the topic, because all my earlier speakers have almost taken away all the words from my mouth. Now I'm left with nothing to speak about. But anyway, I'll be trying to say something. You must be wondering what a chartered accountant is doing amidst all these professionals from the IT field. But well, let me say, I am also one of you, because I have been of late heading an organization called the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, in short ISACA. I was the president of the ISACA Kolkata chapter, and ISACA is a body which has worldwide presence, and it is looking into an area which is called the Information Systems Audit. So those of you who are familiar with ISACA know that this Information Systems Audit nowadays plays a very, very important role so far as the security aspects in the corporate world is concerned. Because ISACA today is producing a lot of professionals who are going into the control aspects, the security aspects of the systems, not only in corporate houses, but in banks and financial institutions. And they have taken up a major role, which is not only the technical aspects of security, but also the control aspects, the financial aspects, the business aspects, the commercial aspects of an organization. So that is one big area where it's basically a bridging between the technology on one side and the commercial aspects on the other side. Well, today we are here to discuss about the security, the privacy, and the balancing act. And Let me start with security. My previous speaker started with privacy and came to security. Let me try it the other way around. Let me start with security. And the first question that comes to mind is whether at all so much of security needs to be talked about, whether really we need so much of security concerns, or is it just a myth? You want to sell your products, you want to sell your security gadgets, as Kaushik Nath would be smiling, and so all this hype is created and you start selling your products. Is that true? So probably a layman will have this first question in mind, that whether security is all that important as it is being shown to be. But to answer this question, probably we should look at the statistics and the news reports that are coming up of late. I was going through a report which had come out a few days ago. It was a report dated 6th of October, where it was being stated that Iranian attackers were constantly attacking the sites of US government, the news, the information sites, and creating havoc in US. A similar report came out that Chinese attackers are trying similar sort of things in India, and so much so that the Minister of Communication and Information Technology, Mr. Sachin Pilot, made a confession that yes, it is true that 133 government sites have been defaced in the first 3 months of this year. If you are still not convinced, then I can give you some more statistics. The National Crime Records Agency has come out with a figure that 1791 crimes were recorded in the last year, that is 2011. So these are only the recorded cases, mind you. It's not the entire picture. There are, I'm sure Mr. Muralidhar will be agreeing with me, that there are a whole lot of cases which does not come into the record. So it's only the 1791 cases which have been reported. There is another agency which is called the SDA, which is the Security and Defense Agenda. They call themselves this organization. They, along with McAfee, they had done a survey, and they came out with figures that India is rated as number 5 so far as the country which is affected by cyber crimes. And finally, I would like to say that even Norton, they came out with startling facts in their crime report. They said that the total loss that is suffered globally is $110 billion, which is a huge figure, and India is not very far behind. They have a share of almost $8 billion, which is also a very, very high figure. Now, talking about the quantum of cyber crimes, the magnitude of the cyber crimes, it could vary from small cases like what was reported in the papers on the 5th of October relating to the Hyderabad-based techie who was arrested under the Information Technology Act. Reason being that he had hacked into the mail ID of one lady, and he was using it constantly to harass the lady. And he also used a false Facebook ID, and with the Facebook ID as well as the hacked email account, he was constantly after this lady. So the Hyderabad police, they waited for this person to come from USA, and the moment he landed into India, he was arrested. So these are individual crimes. You have the corporate world, which is also reeling under various types of crimes which are coming up. And we will be having various interesting sessions where people will be talking from the individual perspective, people will be talking from the corporate perspective. But what we have seen during our systems audit of various corporate world is a general lack of awareness, lack of training. Probably, depending upon your exposure to the systems, if you are not using too much of technology in your daily work, probably your exposure to security may be less. But an organization who is constantly using technology for their day-to-day work, they will be exposed more. The risks may be higher. And in no position you can mitigate the risk to the extent that there is no residual risk. There will be some residual risk which will always remain. So how much will remain will depend upon how much cost you can bear. Because bringing in more and more security is expensive. So you have to do a balancing act, you have to do a cost-benefit analysis, and you have to see how much of residual risk you can take. But there are certain things which I believe that most often the corporates ignore. Even very big corporate houses, we have done systems audit where we've seen that even the elementary kind of precautions have not been taken. I can talk of companies where they have not signed a confidentiality agreement with their employees, and employees are allowed to use the net freely from the machine where they are connected to the ERP package. So any moment they can transfer the data to the outside world, the data which is most costly and sensitive, that can be communicated. Even the external device ports have not been disabled. The firewalls are not configured, or a basic IDS system is not in place. So these kind of things can happen. These may not be very costly, but it should be brought into the purview of the systems personnel there in the company. These are certain problems which can be addressed very easily. You do not need to have a very hi-fi security system or a plethora of equipments to handle this. These are certain common things which can be implemented. Now coming to the privacy aspects also, I was hearing my previous speaker deliberate in great details. But one thing is there, that as a security service provider, a company who is providing you the security for against various cyber crimes, these service providers may be requiring your IP addresses, or they may be having access to your IP address. So whether that is a breach of the privacy, whether these IP addresses can be misused for their own personal marketing advantages, is something which has to be sorted out. And we have very eminent speakers on the privacy also, who will be talking about the IT Act and how the privacy laws can be protected.